The best part about waking up is Monday Evening Football, baby! Welcome back. Hey, guys, beautiful Thursday morning for you. We got some Monday Evening Football in our cups here, getting us going, getting us ready for the day. Hey, guys, we got some sports news with you, or for you. Hopefully, you're with us along this journey, right, Nick?
Absolutely.
Because it is a magical one. Guys, we got some tremendous news lines around the NFL. Some interesting stuff going on. We got some NFL players becoming artists, maybe making some own NFTs. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but we got facilities being built. We got people retiring from certain sports. It's a crazy news day, and we're here for it. Okay, we are here for it. Hey, Nick, I gotta ask you, what's something that grabbed your this
Oh, just snagged my attention. Well, the very first thing that caught my attention is the fact that a gentleman by the name of Lynn Bowden of the
morning?
Miami Dolphins, player for the Dolphins.
The
I'll be
artist, I would.
honest, I was not familiar with him until this morning, but now he very well may be my favorite player because this gentleman decided to give himself a Miami Dolphins tattoo. And we've got the image right here. Let me throw that on the screen. Oh, oh, oh. It is incredibly accurate. It it really couldn't be more accurate.
I mean, I've seen a picture where they've taken the dolphin that he tattooed himself on his leg, and I'll be honest, like, all right, it's not the best dolphin, okay,
It's really
but
bad.
I did see, I did. It almost looks like a manatee.
It's really, really
Oh,
bad.
but oh, I saw where they took the tattoo dolphin and they put it on the Miami Dolphins helmet. I don't know if that's a picture you got pulled up there, Nick. But I tell you what,
Okay.
I think they should be a little bit of a logo change. And if you haven't seen that picture, you definitely need to go find it because just seeing it on a helmet, the dolphin that he drew is like it truly is a thing of beauty. And it definitely looks like maybe if like a fourth grader potentially drew a dolphin to be the logo for the Miami
See,
Dolphins is what it looks like. And I understand tattoo guns are, tough and it's probably painful as shit as you're going through your skin, but maybe next time use a stencil.
so I think that one of the parts that I like the most about this is the fact that of where he had to place the tattoo to be able to do it himself. The fact that it's on, for those of you who are just listening to this and you're not seeing it, it is basically on the top of like his quad, like his left quad.
Left
So
spot.
essentially,
Yeah.
he was sitting in a chair and then drawing it onto his own leg. And this dolphin is just absolutely atrocious. This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now here is maybe a potential storyline here that we can concoct out of all this. Maybe get some rumors flying. I think that was probably actually he probably went to a tattoo shop and got it professionally done, but it was so terrible that he actually had to come out and say, "No, I actually gave this tattoo to myself."
That's what it was.
You know,
He did not want
but
to. He didn't want to admit it.
because yeah, I mean, if he did it himself, it's not half bad, I guess. I mean, I don't know how many tattoos he's given himself, but if that's the first tattoo he's given himself, I mean, it's pretty good. The 15 looks
The
solid.
15, the 15 is the best part by far.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the lines,
I mean,
the lines that
like a
spray
sun.
out of it, like the sun. If you look, they're just like there's lines that come out of it are like, oh man, it's just there's nothing better. There's nothing better in the NFL right now than this.
For sure.
This is why I love this league so much. This doesn't actually like this is also fantastic because this is some unique shit. Like there's nothing like I can't point to like a story from back in the day that's like this. Like this is just amazing. Like the
I tell you what, Lynn, if you want to give me a tattoo, I'm all for it. Let's do it. We could do it live one morning on Fancast
let's do it.
or Monday Evening Football Fancast.
You know what?
I'll get a tattoo from him for sure. Maybe the little Fancast TV logo. Maybe he
Oh,
can come up
you
with a
know
logo for us.
you know
I
what we
accidentally.
you know what we need to do. we need this is a good idea for some merch, for some fan cast,
Oh,
some Monday Evening Football merch. I highly doubt he has the copyright to this dolphin illustration that I don't
yeah.
I've never seen it. It's just I've never seen anything like it, and that the one on the helmet is phenomenal. Whoever photoshopped that onto the helmet is just the
Yep.
best. Like this is phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, we are gonna have to create some merch out of this, so keep an eye out for that. In the next coming days, because I think that's just that's a no-brainer for sure.
When I saw this first thing this morning, Scott, I thought to myself, like, today is going to be a pretty good day. Like, it's today. The floor for today is now an 8 out of 10. I mean, that is
Oh, for
the
sure.
floor now. Now that I've seen this, I mean, this is phenomenal.
And we're just getting started.
Oh yeah,
We're just getting started in our news stories. Myles Garret is retiring. Nick, Fox Sports reported it
he is.
from his basketball career, though,
He's
not the NFL, just from playing basketball. It looks like,
he's leaving the
from what I
hardwood.
can see.
He's getting off the
Say that one
hardwood.
more time.
He's
Oh,
getting,
for sure.
he's hanging up the Nikes, and I think realistically, Myles Garrett, I think he understands that there is only risk at this point, and there is no reward to pursuing any form of basketball. Though, in fairness, this offseason,
Huh.
my man has been lighting up Instagram. I mean, he has been dunking on people at LA Fitness, it looks like, in most of the videos, and probably the right move for him at this point in time.
Absolutely. And I did hear something else about Myles Garrett, that he apparently he came out and said he has gotten bigger this offseason and has not lost any speed.
Yeah, he
So
looks.
that is terrifying in itself, because already um you know a specimen of a human being, but getting bigger and not losing any speed, that's going to be dangerous for any offense that's going against Myles Garrett. And we all know his swinging ability is very strong. It's probably like a 99% on Madden. So I don't know if they can make it go to 105 or 110, but I imagine that he will be there in that statistical category this year. So hey, good for Myles Garrett hanging up the basketball sneakers and just getting yoked and staying fast as fuck, boy.
That's the
So
facts.
yeah, shout out to him. Staying on that defensive side of the ball, Nick. Cowboys trade rumors are starting to dust up here. They got a couple of linebackers that have been garnishing some attention, as far as for trade opportunities. Teams have been inquiring. They've gotten Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, two guys that have been getting some talk, throughout this off season so far. I know Jerry Jones has had some people reach out to him. Now, my opinion, I don't think Leighton Vander Esch is going to get moved. I think he probably is too important to that defense right now, with a couple other guys, coming up through the ranks and not really knowing um, too much to expect out of them. They also lost their, former All-Pro linebacker Sean Lee to retirement this past year. So with those couple things, I see maybe one of those guys getting moved for some potential value coming back. I don't know if it's going to be both of them, but interesting moves Jerry World's doing down there to maybe potentially get that defense a little more on point. But I think you will see one of those two guys probably moved before the season.
Now, here's my, and call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, guys, in the comments. You can, I mean, look at my shirt. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what even is this? So I don't know I don't know what I'm talking about. But the reality is simple. Is this possibly Jerry Jones trying to get his Dallas Cowboys out there a little bit in the media, like some other teams, maybe one that we're going to talk about here in a minute? Is he seeing, hey, wait a minute, everybody's talking about the Packers up in Wisconsin. How
Yep.
many people live in that city? He's thinking to himself. Compared to Dallas, Texas, people are talking about the Atlanta Falcons. They're just down there in Atlanta doing their thing. They're not the Dallas football Cowboys. And the reality is, when you're Jerry Jones, you might be thinking to yourself a little bit, hey, we're getting some interest in a couple guys. Who knows what this interest is at the end of the day? This could be one phone call about Leighton Vander Esch that's like, hey, what's the deal?
With
Maybe
a
we'd like to
small
make
mention
something
of
happen.
Jalen Smith too.
That's exactly. So it's hard to know. I think if you're a Cowboys fan, no reason to be concerned. And also, I don't know if there's much reason to be excited because I don't really know what the market is like right now because the only two big names that we've seen on the trade block are Julio and Zach Ertz. And so
Yeah,
if you're not going after one of them, and maybe you are, but if it's not that, then I don't know. And the fact that that wasn't speculated in the article I read,
yeah,
I think we read the same one. That
yeah.
the fact that they weren't really speculating about Julio and all that, or Zach Ertz, kind of makes me think this might be the Cowboys just trying to be like, hey, remember us? We're over here. We're still exist in this thing too. We're looking to
Yeah.
have a hell of a season too. So I don't know. Sometimes with things like this, I think, for a Cowboys fan, I'd be like, damn, I mean, those are some good players. Like, why are we talking? Might be much to do about nothing. And maybe that's just me as a cynical Packers fan this offseason. But I do think,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this could be a little media maneuvering by old Jerry potentially.
For sure, absolutely. And whatever you got to do to keep your team relevant is definitely, it's gonna help your team. We've been saying it all year. Um, but there is a team out there that is saying, "Hey, you have Jerry World down there in Dallas, beautiful facilities. We see you and we raise you, revitalizing a whole downtown area, and that would be the Jacksonville
There you
Jaguars
go.
with Shad Khan doing it big. Hey, this team, I have never been so high on a football team before in my life, and I don't even know the reason why I am so. This team is doing things right. They are committed to revitalizing downtown
Yup.
Jacksonville. They unveiled some plans today for their sports performance center. Um, they're looking to develop some hotel and commercial spaces that includes a four-season
Four
hotel,
Seasons,
and they're
very
doing that
nice.
because they want to be able to have some of that higher clientele that likes a nicer establishment like a Four Seasons to hold some meetings, potentially some conferences, things like that. So I would say this: Shad Khan, he definitely has a vision for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're getting entrenched in the community out there now. They are about to build some strong ties, very strong ties in Jacksonville. The fans, I'm sure, are all for it. You are I I'm going to go out on a limb and say these Jacksonville Jaguars games are going to be so electric come this season.
I I I agree with you. I think the Jaguars are looking at this thing, and it seems like they're looking at it from the standpoint of like, look, we're down here in Florida, so there's no state tax. Maybe you're thinking, oh, it might be nice to play in Florida, but wait, there's already the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with old ass Tom Brady. I think the Jaguars are
Yeah.
trying to set themselves up right now to be able to eclipse the Buccaneers in Florida as soon as
Yep.
Tom Brady retires. That might be in a year, that might be in 2 or 3 years, but either way, Trevor Lawrence will still be on his rookie deal when that happens, and the Buccaneers probably fall off a cliff at that point. Now, now, in fairness, you also have a team like the Miami Dolphins, a team that's young and upcoming. However, I don't know exactly what the Dolphins' pitch to people is. When you got a guy like Lynn Bowden giving himself tattoos down there, I don't know that the Dolphins are putting themselves in the same position, especially from the media and marketing side, as the Jacksonville Jaguars are. The Jacksonville Jaguars are making the news because they're building a beautiful brand new stadium. They're getting some large hotels involved in the area around the stadium. Meanwhile, the Dolphins are making the news because a guy's got a home tattoo studio. And the Buccaneers are in the position they're in now, but we'll see in a few years. So I agree with you. I think the Jaguars are trying to work towards the future here. They've got a bit of a plan, and they're trying to put it into action right now. And this is just another step in that plan. Is to get this new facility built, and so yeah, man, I think it's very interesting. I also think when you look at the dumpster fire of a division that you've got down there I mean, right now, in fairness, the Jaguars are part of that dumpster fire, but you've got, the Houston Texans. No one knows what's going on with them. They've gotten rid of every player that's any good on their team. So they're at this point, I think they're point shaving. And then the reality, the reality is the Colts and the Titans are still very solid. But once again, there seems to be this wait 'em out thing going on in Jacksonville where they're doing everything else Like they're setting up all the other pieces right now because they know it's going to be hard to win right now. So let's just set up all the other pieces. Let's get the new coach in. Let's make sure he's kind of established. Let's get the
Yep.
future quarterback. Okay, that's good to go. Now let's work on some of these facilities. Let's work on some of the media stuff. And then when we get the opportunity, we'll be ready to go
Yeah.
and we'll go after it full speed. So I think it's pretty awesome. I think look to continue to see stuff like this out of the Jaguars. But I agree with you, man. Holy cat!
It
Like,
and I will say this: if I'm another NFL team around the league, I am definitely keeping an eye on what Jacksonville Jaguars are doing because I think that is a great case study for a lot of future NFL teams. Um, but obviously, you got to see how it plays out. But you do need to keep tabs on what they're doing because they are making a lot of changes. They're doing a lot of things that I think is going to make Jacksonville a big free agent spot moving forward.
yep,
With Trevor Lawrence, if he performs even half as well as people expect him to do this season, you know, but if he overexceeds expectations, you're going to get a lot of players coming in. It may not be this next year or two, but give it 3 or 4 years once things start to get moving and in action. But it is definitely exciting, and I did see on Twitter, we Monday Evening Football, we tweeted out that Shad Khan, he definitely has a vision for what is going on, and someone, probably a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, it says, and part one of his vision should be to not let his son make any of the big boy decisions. That's about, but maybe it doesn't trickle down. The vision to his son potentially. I don't really know. This is just information I'm getting right in front of me. So we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll have to take that into account if things start to go wrong. It's like who's making the decisions? Is it Shad Khan or is it his son?
Jaguars
And
fans,
then we got
if you see this video right here, if you see this clip and you're a Jaguars fan, please in the comments tell us how you feel about that dynamic so we can learn a little more about it with the son and the dad and
for sure.
everything. Just throw it down there like, well, it could be one sentence like the son stinks.
Yeah.
This is we don't like him. Whatever it is, just like if you
Or
could
or maybe you don't know about his son.
yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. Like just if you could help us out with that, just hit that in the comments, please, because I'm curious. Because I have heard something like that before. Yeah, they
I
don't fuck with the
do.
sun for some reason, and I'm not 100% sure exactly why. Um, so yeah, if anybody could help clear that up for us, that would be awesome. But we'll do some digging
Yeah,
on
that
our
would.
own. We'll talk to our research department.
Yes. Yes, we will into it. But also, if you could help us out, that's greatly appreciated. We appreciate you more than we know, more than you know,
There it is.
more than yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
that's
what
it.
it is. Yeah. So yes. So it's definitely excited to see what the Jaguars are doing down there. We'll keep tabs on that story probably throughout the season, and we're gonna let you know whether what they're doing down there is working or just a miscount on their part, on their part. But I will forever. I mean, you gotta. But I, Nick, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a little passing of the torch between quarterbacks. Essentially, did you hear what Ben Roethlisberger had to say about Dwayne
Dwayne
Haskins?
Haskins. I saw that. I would believe that was on the Pat McAfee show. That's
Yeah,
where I saw them talking about it. Yeah, the they seem to be high, or at least Big Ben does, on Dwayne Haskins. And I mean, the more I thought about that last night, the more I was thinking like that's an interesting signing anyway. Like in a weird way, Dwayne Haskins is this guy that's, let's be honest, he brought some negative media attention to the Washington football team, which at the exact wrong time because of what was already going on there. And a good player, but he got his ass shipped out because of some questionable decision making. And the reality is
yeah,
just more the timing of that decision making. I don't think that the Washington football team is too upset with you going out to the adult ballet, but I think that during COVID, they're not exactly exactly
thrilled
gonna
about
gonna
it.
be thrilled. Yeah. So he moves on there with a little bit of a kind of some questionable decision making, and
Yep.
he finds himself in a place where they've dealt with a quarterback for the last however many years, who himself has been involved in quite a few scandals, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But
He was,
th-
yeah, and he was
that's an
involved.
organization that is very familiar, and seemingly knows kind of how to maneuver that. And let's be honest, they're similar players. They're both giant dudes, big arms.
Yeah.
They're Midwest guys. They both played college football in the state of Ohio, right? And at the end of the day, it kind of seems like the right fit, especially because I do think Dwayne Haskins, like I said, I feel very differently about Ben Roethlisberger and his past. Obviously, I do than I do Dwayne Haskins. If Dwayne Haskins is playing
Yes.
for any other team last season that isn't Washington, he's probably fine. Like they probably just he sits out there with the COVID protocol and then he keeps playing. So I think at the end of the day,
And
he is going to do well there. And I think it's great if you're a Steelers fan because you can see a guy that now can take over for Big Ben. Because if we're being honest, Big Ben's taking a pay cut this year now. He's talking up Dwayne Haskins. And because of that, I think that's all the signs you kind of need to see. This might be it for Big Ben this year. I mean, this could be it.
yeah,
And so having his heir apparent right there, you've seen him play in NFL games. You've seen him win.
yeah,
You've got to feel good about that if you're a Steelers fan.
absolutely. And I think Dwayne Haskins learned from his with the Washington football team. I think he did come out and say that, I probably didn't take this opportunity that I had as seriously as I should have. And which for a guy to even come out and say that already for me shows tremendous growth of like, oh, like I wasn't putting my all into this situation as much as I needed. And maybe, a guy like Dwayne Haskins didn't know what was expected of him as an NFL quarterback. And so I was glad to see him like kind of you know, take that ownership of his mistakes and then was able to move on. And now I see a guy like Big Ben say, "Hey, Dwayne Haskins, that dude can sling it." I wouldn't be surprised by those guys this season, and because I think if you could play Ben Roethlisberger for 75% of the game and have Dwayne Haskins come in, run a couple series, I think that only helps Ben Roethlisberger and where he's at in his career and longevity of making it through the season. And you have a guy that in Dwayne Haskins that's a little more mobile, that can really sling the ball and is not, I'm sorry, Big Ben, but falling apart
For
essentially.
sure.
And I think you could really see those guys become like a tandem this year. I don't know if that's exactly what will play out, but I would be interested to see that dynamic.
Yeah.
You have the shotgun formation. You got both Ben Roethlisberger and Dwayne Haskins lined up back there. Who are they going to snap it to? You don't know. Okay, they snapped it to Dwayne. When Ben Roethlisberger goes out on a little
Oh,
bubble
okay.
screen, Dwayne hits
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Big Ben's taking it
I
eight
like where
yards.
your head's
So
at.
yeah, it's just a little vision for you guys. Get used to it because I think you're going to see that a lot if you're a Steelers fan. Maybe not, but I do think you see this is like kind of like the torch being passed, and if Ben Roethlisberger is coming out and saying this about Dwayne Haskins, I think Big Ben knows that like this guy is more than capable to run this team. I think the reason you see a guy like Big Ben come back is like, well, there's really no one better than me to take this team and continue the upward trend. I think Big Ben at the time when he came back gave him the best chance to win. Then they go get Dwayne Haskins, and I think now that he's worked with him a little bit, he can see he's like, all right, yeah, this will probably be the guy of the future. So hey, super excited for Dwayne Haskins. And that's got to be feel good for him to get such praise from a great quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger. So um, yeah, I'm excited
Yeah,
for
no
it.
doubt.
But Nicholas,
Yes.
got any news going on? Anything that's like newsworthy? Maybe we put it in a newsletter because it's that
Oh, yeah.
worthy.
See, I think the newsletter that I had put out yesterday. By the way, if you guys are interested in it, we put it out every day. It's free. It's got a little op-ed section that I write every day, essentially would be the way to think about it, and then a bunch of news. So it's perfect in my opinion if you're trying to get, the top headlines of the NFL quickly. You want to kind of cover, you want to be able to kind of know what's going on in the league, maybe a little bit of water cooler talk, right? Or a little,
Yeah,
something like that, right? Little going to the neighborhood block party. Want to have something to kind of, talk to everybody about. This could be something that could help you out with that in the world of football. But anyway, my
yeah,
point being, links in the bio. You can always, subscribe. It's on Substack. But the one that I wrote yesterday, I did want to talk about because I found this stat and I think it's very interesting. So like the way that people view statistics nowadays in the NFL and a lot of the analytics in my mind is some people love them, some people hate them. I love them because I think stats make storylines, and I think the more access that you have to stats, the better. I also think it helps if you're in a legal gambling state. I think it's critically important to understand the analytics. And I also think if you play fantasy football, it's critically important to understand the analytics, right? And how they all match together. Now, my pitch in this newsletter is if you're one of the people listening to this, and I know a few people that are, they're like, I don't care about all these new stats. It doesn't mean anything to me. You got to play the game, whatever. I don't like all the new stuff. I totally get it. But there is
Yeah.
one stat that I think everyone needs to be aware of as the NFL season goes. It's incredibly important. I think it shows successful teams and not successful teams very apparently. I think you can know this early on in the season. I think it's important. I think it's important when you get to the playoffs to kind of see where your team stacks up. And that stat is team pass block win rate. So that is the statistic that people need to be looking for. A lot of times I think there's too much emphasis placed on pass rush. Like if you have a good pass rush, you're going to be good. It's actually when you look into it, if you look at pass rush win rate, those teams are not it doesn't correlate as much to success in the NFL as pass block win rate. So I think the
Yeah.
title of the newsletter was the best defense is defending your quarterback, and that is true. Like that is what this stat shows. And so I'll point out kind of the main part of it that I liked in the newsletter, and what that is of the top 10 teams last year in pass block win rate, 8 of them made the playoffs. But the part that's even
Okay.
crazier is 7 of them won at least one playoff game. So what that means is if last season your favorite team finished the regular season in the top 10 in pass block win rate, you had a 70% chance that you were going to win at least one playoff game. And then when you like go deeper into it and you realize that of the two teams in the top 10 that didn't make the playoffs, one of them was the Arizona Cardinals, and they almost made the playoffs. If you remember, they were fighting with the
Yep.
Bears for that last spot. The other one was the Oakland Raiders, and the Oakland Raiders were 10th on the list. So of the first nine, eight of the first nine made the playoffs. And I think that that is a statistic that people should be more aware of when you're looking at all these different aspects. If you're looking at fantasy football, if you're looking at gambling, if you're looking at just watching your team, understanding how well your team protects your quarterback in the NFL nowadays is vital because at the end of the day, that really is what it's all about. Like those teams, when you're looking at the top 10 and it's a 70% chance that you're going to win a playoff game, that's a massive stat. And it's hard to find stats like that that point so obviously to success in the NFL. So that was the one that
Yeah.
that we kind of talked about in the newsletter yesterday, and I just thought that was pretty awesome.
Well, you know what I find interesting there,
Hmm.
Nicholas, is you do have a lot of teams that were in the playoffs, but the only team I don't see on here that probably had the biggest playoff run would be the Tampa Bay
Yes, so
Buccaneers.
they were. I looked
And-
at them. They were just outside of the top 10. However, my
Gotcha.
curiosity with them is, and I didn't have time to look into this, but I would almost bet that they probably got better late in the year. Like I bet you if you
Yeah.
looked at like the last 8 weeks of the season, they probably were at that level. If you remember,
Yeah.
they started off the year pretty rough. Like they lost that game to the Bears. Tom Brady didn't know his fourth down. Like they didn't start the year off great. I think they were a 5 seed going into the playoffs. So I think I would imagine if you looked at it at that in that way, that might show a little more light. But that is a good point. Like it is once again with all these statistics, like it is not an end all be all. I think some people I think people get frustrated because they feel like that's what it is. The people that like the analytics, they feel like they're like this is all that matters. Definitely not. You're going to obviously have some stuff, but I think if you're playing the numbers, if you want a successful NFL team that's going to consistently make the playoffs, consistently win playoff games, keep everyone's job, right? you know, like at the end of the day, I think that right there, that's the statistic that you got to look at, and it points to the offensive line. I think it points a lot to scheme too, right? Because the number one team on that list is the Green Bay Packers, and you know we're familiar enough with their offense to understand like a lot of what helps him not get hit is they get the ball out quick.
Yep.
Like when he does drop back to pass, he gets the ball out quick, and he, as the quarterback, is able to move around. Now, once again, I don't know exactly how that statistic like is measured because I'm sure like if he's running away from the defense, like you obviously that's probably a pass block loss, like if
Mm-hmm.
they're chasing him down.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, a team like them, I don't think it's completely offensive line play. I also think the coaching staff and the scheme has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah. So I would I would definitely agree. But yeah, that's definitely it's an interesting thing to look at. And then also which quarterbacks based off of this statistic is getting time in the pocket,
Yep.
or tremendously. So if I'm looking at this, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to take one of these top five teams because I know they're not going to get, you know, hopefully hit as much, or you know, they got a good offensive line, or like you said, a good scheme fit. So obviously Packers number one. I'd take Aaron Rodgers, but then you got Cleveland Browns two, and Arizona Cardinals three, which you could take any of those quarterbacks in fantasy football this year, and you are going to have a better chance than most because those quarterbacks are good quarterbacks and they're going to be able to sling the rock.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the thing. I think there are, and I'll leave you with this. I think there's one team on this list that I think everyone needs to be aware of, right? And I think it's very important. I think when you see the Cleveland Browns finished second last year, and you see how they kind of had a season that surprised a lot of people. Well, out of the
Yep.
entire NFL, I mean, they protected Baker Mayfield, who is a former number one pick, incredibly well. The only team that was protecting their quarterback better was the Packers. So it's not as shocking when you look at it like that to see the type of season they had. So
Yeah.
what I would point out is the seventh team on this list, the team that finished in seventh last year, was the Los Angeles Rams. And I think
Yeah.
now that you plug Matt Stafford in to an offensive line that was able to finish in that spot, I do think that things get very interesting in Los Angeles. Now, that division is not easy, that schedule is not easy, but
No.
the fact that you now have a Matt Stafford back there instead of Jared Goff and potentially that protection can stay around that same level, that's a dangerous, dangerous team
Yeah,
at
for
the end of
sure.
the day.
Hey, Los Angeles Rams, keep your eye on them because based on what we're concocting over here, our statisticians, our quantitative, if you will, it's all pointing to the Los Angeles Rams like taking that shit to the moon potentially
Yep.
with Matty Stafford behind that offensive line. So we'll see how that plays out. Hey, I love the take. The thing I love about these newsletters, also feel free to subscribe to them. They're in the bio below. Is the unique perspectives that I'm going to give you all the credit on this one, Nick. The unique perspectives that you look at and analyze the game from, because these are not just like normal perspectives, and you put them in a condensed form that makes it super easy to read, but you're gaining a lot of valuable knowledge that, when the NFL season comes, whether you're better or a fantasy footballer, you're going to have an edge up on some of these other teams because you're looking at some different unique stats that will only help you if you're using them correctly. Now, that being said, we are not financial advisors,
No, we are
so
not.
take everything I just said with a grain of salt. But hey, it's a beautiful Thursday. I'm going to go enjoy the fuck out of this day. I don't know about you,
I
Nick.
am too. I am too, buddy. Absolutely.
Yes. So all right. Hey, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Feel free, like I said, if you know a little bit about Shad Khan's son from the Jacksonville Jaguars, feel free to put that in the comments. Let us know about him a little bit. We're interested. Other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day. Maybe go watch some other YouTubers. Maybe Pat McAfee. He's a great guy that I would recommend. And then we'll see you jabronis tomorrow. Nick, you got anything for the people at home?
Have a good day, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a little fun on Friday, but enjoy this Thirsty Thursday while we're at it. So that's all I got, guys.
All righty. Anything else? Maybe a send off or something?
All I got to say is adios.
Adios.